Good morning, you crazy fuckers. There's a part of me that is immature and inappropriate, and I always wonder, do I not feed that part of me, or is that part of me my truth, and do I need to accept it and embrace it? I don't know, I'm still working on it. I think there's a balance. Maybe if I said good morning, you crazy motherfuckers, it would have been a little too much. But maybe good morning, you crazy fuckers is not that bad. Anyway, I mean it in an endearing way. I've been up since 4 a.m. and I'm happy, and that's why I'm. You know what it is actually, that's what it is. When I'm inappropriate, I'm usually happy. It's a sign that I'm happy because if I'm inappropriate and I'm sad, then that's not really coming from a good place, right? So, and I'm just having this revelation now as I talk to you. Maybe it's about where it's coming from, right? Maybe if you are cheery and happy and you have good energy and you're inappropriate, then it's more accepted because we know where that's coming from. And maybe if you are angry and miserable and have bad intentions and you're inappropriate, then that's not cool. So anyway, to this morning, I am happy and grateful and excited. My tail is wagging. I've been listening to podcasts all morning. I want to talk about assholes. I want to talk about, speaking of inappropriate, I want to talk about assholes. We are not born assholes, and I want to give you some tips on how to not see people as assholes. Now, obviously, we are born neutral. We are born with a clean slate, and so many factors turn us into who we are, right? Events, also a lot of things that happen that are not our fault, right? A big one is bullying. You know, this happens maybe in households, sometimes with their own siblings, stepdads, high school. I gotta say, teenagers, toxic masculinity is the most potent and dangerous in teenagers. And I really believe this. You get a group of teenagers together, just because they're so fucking, dumb and trying to impress each other, they will do things that if there was only one guy wouldn't do, right? And I remember, because when I was a teenager, and this is a very mild version, I would do shit that was I should have been arrested for, right? Like steal car stereos, drive recklessly. There was off a dare once, I drove backwards in traffic for like a mile and a half backwards. So I was looking at the person in front of me. They were like, "What the fuck is this Asian guy doing?" I was reinforcing the Asian stereotypes of the driving on a whole new level, which I shouldn't have been doing. I would take my 4x4 truck and drive through people's front lawns and all this kind of stuff. And if I was by myself, I would have done none of that. And because I was with a group of people and their influence, being a teenager can be dangerous because you could just end up doing a lot of asshole type of shit. Anyway, bullying, experiences, all of that starts to get us to react, right? All of that wires us a certain way. All of that creates imprints. And then as we go through life, more shit happens. Our hearts get broken. We lose jobs. We start to think that life is unfair. People around us start getting successful. We get jealous. All of this thing. Then we start to feel like victims. And the assholes that you see around you, they're usually unhappy. They're usually hurting. That saying, hurt people, right? It's so true. Like, it's a reaction of their unhappiness. It's a reaction of their discomfort in life. It's a reaction of their story, So instead of, and then, of course, because they're assholes, then, it triggers us and then we react and now everyone's an asshole. I think the way that we should see people, or the way that I try to not see people as assholes, there's two things that I do, two tricks. One is try to see the spirit of who someone is, right? So you're not seeing and judging and evaluating their behavior and actions and words, which is extremely hard to do because that's the front line. That's what we get, right? Try to hop that fence and see the spirit of who they are. So if you know someone long enough, you're going to get a sense of like their spirit, because, even if people are assholes or people do things that you don't like, you could kind of see their spirit. And you're either going to like their spirit or you're not, right? And to me, that's kind of the core. Their reactions can change, right, as they change and grow. So I try not to judge people on their reactions. Now, that being said, you should protect yourself. If someone's highly reactive and negative and toxic in your life, yes, you could still see the spirit of who they are, and maybe they've been through a tough life and pain and all that, but doesn't mean that they need to be in your life, right? I'm not saying to go down with people. I'm just saying if you start to see people as assholes and negative, you're going to create your own island, right? And people, I think, at the end of the day, are good. What makes them react, right, is their circumstances, what they've been through, their upbringing, the abuse, the trauma. People are inherently good. And if you throw love at people, you will also see how fast they will not be assholes, right? The asshole is just a layer. The asshole is reacting from insecurity and lack of self-worth, right? So if you know that, it's easier to accept assholes. And see the spirit of who they are. So that's one thing I try to do. The other thing is, do you remember that movie Star Wars? Well, of course you do. You know that part where they go into that weird bar, and in the bar, there's like Jabba the Hutt, there's like a Princess Leia, right? There's humans, and then there's every creature is different. There's a creature with 3 eyes, there's a creature with 1 eye, there's like, all in the robots, right? C-3PO, and I actually see people that way. I feel like, and it works, it really does. Because if we see everyone the same, even though we are the same species, it's very easy to judge and compare it. But when I see each person as their own kind of creature, then there's more room for me to understand them and accept them. So for example, you don't expect a cat to act like a dog, right? A cat is a cat, and a cat has its own value. I don't see any, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm highly allergic to cats, but there are characteristics of a cat that dogs don't have, right? And vice versa, or a monkey or a giraffe, and you start to appreciate the uniqueness of that animal, and you accept that uniqueness because you know that they are a different animal, right? You don't expect a goldfish to be a shark, or if you're swimming around sharks, you don't expect them to be like a dolphin, right? And so with humans, I think if you see them as like these beautiful, unique creatures, not like put them all into a box and they should act a certain way, but they are unique. So maybe one is, super extroverted and loud and crazy, and you could kind of appreciate the uniqueness in that. And then maybe some are quiet, and maybe some, and so you almost like basically seeing humans as creatures. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a kind of a beautiful nature way. And the visual that I have is that scene in Star Wars where you go and you see all these interesting creatures, but they're all hanging out, right? And they're all functioning and engaging. So that's what I try to do.